you can yell at politicians or you can try to make it better, right? And what do? We do what we can, and everybody has a place and a role in a revolution. That's how I personally feel. Everybody can't be a a, a, a foot soldier. Everybody can't, do these militias and stuff like that. We're gonna need people in power. We're gonna need people in these offices to actually change certain things. And where his mind is at today, I don't know because we just trying to. I'm trying to. I got my questions. Sure, you guys have yours. If you have any questions, please put them below because our guest is here. Everybody, please welcome Jose. How you doing today, man?
Doing good. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It's a nice Friday, I
Yeah,
ain't tripping.
yeah. It's a good Friday.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's Good Friday. What do that mean?
It's when Christ was crucified,
Oh shit.
and then
People
on
celebrate
Sunday,
that?
and then yeah, and then on Sunday we celebrate his resurrection.
Well. Well, welcome to the show. We got love for all religions here. So don't fucking timestamp that.
All right, no problem.
I'm talking to them because I know they be on some bullshit,
Sure,
They get
sure.
you to catch me. But it's nice to have you here in this hot seat, man, because one thing that we do is we play fair, because it's one thing from being an activist and it's another thing from being an activist to politician, right? And if we're gonna hold, you know, anybody accountable is gonna be the politicians that, surround themselves with our language, with our followers, whatever the fuck it may be, right? So we want to make sure that you are on the same page as us, because that's only fair. As we can see, even representatives in your state, they don't say a damn thing about, or your county don't say a damn thing about it being one of the poorest in this nation, and people are really down bad. They're all you hear is the controlled narrative, right? So I just want to ask you, are you afraid to die?
No, I'm not afraid to die. Um, I was having this conversation yesterday, actually, and it's interesting that we're having this conversation on Good Friday because there's the way I see it is that if you call yourself a Christian, are you prepared to do what that actually means? A lot of people like to think that religion is just going to church on Sunday, eating your bread, drinking your wine, and saying, "Yeah, I'm a Christian." No, I mean, I don't know what people's religious as what it doesn't really matter. The point is, it was Dietrich Bonhoeffer. This German guy in 1933 when Hitler overtook Germany. He was on the radio waves denouncing Hitler. He was helping Jews escape Germany. He was a Christian pastor, and he said, he talks about this idea of like, well, if you're a Christian, are you prepared to? Are you prepared? Are you ready to give your life to the cause? Are you ready to give your life for a greater future? And there's this idea of the Garden of Gethsemane where Christ, just before he's crucified, he's in this garden and he's crying. But he comes to the conclusion himself. He volunteers himself that, yeah, you know what? If I have to die for humanity, then so be it. He makes that choice. He's not forced to make that choice. That's when he reconciles in his mind. He has to make that choice. And I've made that choice and I recommit to that choice every now and then whenever I fall apart and I become weak. I'm like, no, no, no. I am doing this because there needs to be a better future. And to sacrifice one's self and one's life is not necessarily like I'm ready to jump in front of a bullet. For example, I just quit my job. From now probably till the end of the campaign, I don't know if I'll go back because I need to organize full time. I don't know what I'm going to do for money. I can't pay myself on the campaign more than like $350, $400 a week. I can't really live off that. I don't know what I'm going to do, but at the same time, I'm thinking like we really are on the verge of nuclear war. There's a genocide happening in Gaza. This is how I'm going to give my life. This is me giving my life now, organizing full time between now and November, now and forever. I have to give my entire life to making sure that we stop all genocide, period, that we stop all conflict, and that we overturn the entire oligarchical rule. This is my life now. That is me sacrificing any sort of personal life, any sort of interpersonal relationship drama. I'm giving all of that up. My personal life is my public life now. So this, yeah, I'm afraid to die. No, in one sense, I've already shed off that identity. I mean, I'm giving my life to making sure we have a better future.
Yeah, because I asked that because we are dealing with complete psychopaths, and they will not hesitate to take you out if you step out of line, if you was to be too loud, if you don't take the money, or if you don't step down when they tell you to. They will be ready to take off your head, poison your family, stalk you until you kill yourself. And this is why I asked, because this is an important question. You're not running for some city councilman, right? You're not running for some local office. This is something very big. And I wanted to ask you, besides your, I know that your opponent, Richie Torres, is that how I pronounce his last name?
Yeah.
Yeah, Richie Torres. I see that you're saying that, you're not a Zionist and whatever it fucking may be. You're not paid by these people and those people. But what other plans do you have to tell the people? Because your district right now, I believe, is 39% Black Americans and 60% Hispanic. So what is your delivering message besides I am not Richie Torres? Because we have seen people like you have come before, like the likes of AOC, Ilhan Omar, and whatever it may be. Even though they are not held by PACs like APAC, they still do their bidding, and sometimes they try to say that they're playing the inside game or a long game, 40 chess, whatever the fuck it may be. But what is your delivering message besides I am not Richie Torres?
So, like you said, the Bronx is one of the poorest congressional districts. It's the poorest congressional district in the country. And, I'm going to rebuild it. But then the question is, how are you going to rebuild it? I have this idea called a Space Civilian Construction Corps. I do believe in the idea of atonement and reparations. I do. As to what exactly that looks like, I don't think a financial incentive is enough. I think it requires actually rebuilding these communities. And here's what I mean. You take the fact that the 18 to 26-year-old demographic, about 40% of them are unemployed. Most of them aren't even graduating high school. Most of them are illiterate, unskilled, untrained. And then you have an older population right now, people who are retired union laborers, people who are skilled. What you do is you set up camps where you can take anyone who's 18 to 26 and you say, I'm going to train you on how to build. You're going to be a carpenter, you're going to be a welder, or you're going to be a nurse, you're going to be something productive. You're going to get these skills that are desperately needed to rebuild your community and the country as a whole, because we've shut down schools, we've shut down hospitals, we aren't building new housing fast enough, and we don't have any new infrastructure coming up. So you take these people who are unskilled and uneducated, and you give them an education, you give them skills, and you say now, and you pay them while they're getting trained, and you pay their families while they're getting trained so that they're not suffering while they're gone. You treat it kind of like a boarding school almost. They come back for holidays and vacations. Meanwhile, they're getting on-the-job site training. And then for 2 years afterwards, you put them back in their community and you say, now, look, you're going to work for the government by doing these government programs. You're going to build a hospital, you're going to build the schools, you're going to rebuild the roads, and you're going to also build advanced forms of modern infrastructure like high-speed rail. You're going to actually build a high-speed rail that connects Maine down to Florida, Boston to DC. You're going to be on the forefront of that for at least 2 years. And then after that, you get the option to continue working as a government employee, as a union paid employee, or now you're marketable. You have skills now that you can actually go and advertise yourself, or you can start your own thing, because you'll be trained. So what you're doing is you're not even just saving the current generation. You're building a future for a real neighborhood and a real community to exist, because then all of these people who were once unskilled and unhoused and or are uneducated are now the people building the housing in their own neighborhood, building the hospitals, building the businesses that'll exist in their own neighborhood. And then you export them out to other places so that they are training other people in other parts of the country too. And this is what I call a Space Civilian Conservation Corps. The idea behind space is that anybody who goes through this program has the ability to work at a place like NASA in advanced aeronautic engineering and to have that creativity to do so. So that should they ever want to do something like that, building rockets or satellites, that's at the skill that they're at. So that's my plan.
The only pushback I have on that with the thing with reparations is not a lot of black people would like to work for this government, even if we did turn it around. You know, if I had received reparations as a black man from America, I will leave America. And I think we should pay people, you know, in order to have that option. Do they want to sit here, you know, and rebuild, or would they like to leave with their with what they are owed? And one thing that we can't sit here and like we can't really force people into these camps, these schools and stuff like that, because people just, you know, it sounds good on paper, but in all reality, a lot of black people don't want nothing to do with this government, especially, you know, with these jobs where even Hispanic people has a big no working with the government, no matter how good they say it is at this moment. So I think, and we have to remember a lot of these people that's descendants of slavery and whatnot. They are disabled. They will not be able to work these jobs. A lot of people have mental illnesses and stuff like that. So we will have to, you know, pay people what they're owed. Not only that, but also have, you know, these excuse me, these things open for them to be able to go, like, you know, rehabilitation centers and stuff like that. And speaking on Hispanics, you are in New York, correct?
Yes.
You know, I remember not too long ago, AOC had told the migrants that was coming to New York, you know, do not come. And whether we like it or not, you know, it is a conversation that's being held on the ground in between our family members in our communities or whatnot. What is your plan for the migrants that is coming over here? And if you have one, what would their future look like here? Would they be able to get, would you be able to help them get their papers, or what kind of program will you set up for these migrants and make sure that they are not, because we all are used as a pawn to, you know, to push each other apart, to fight each other and whatnot.
Sure.
How will you make it that not only these migrants have a place to live in America, but they will be safe here and not be looked at like they are taking advantage, or they are, you know, getting favors by this government?
Well, to me to answer that, I need to answer your previous point about how, you know, people don't want to trust the government. I don't blame anybody for not wanting to. I don't trust the government. Okay, they're the ones spying on me right now. They're the ones probably sending agents to my place of work. You know, they're the ones who are psychologically profiling me. Of course, I don't trust the government. I don't trust them any farther than I could throw them. And I think that's kind of the issue at my campaign. It's that, can you rebuild that trust with government, and how do you do that? Well, for one, I believe people should take back their government so that you can have a government you can trust. And what does that actually look like? Does that look like people saying the things you agree with? Well, like Angela McArdle, who is the chair of the Libertarian Party, I disagree with her wholeheartedly on economics. But if she were to run for Senate, if she was a senator, I would trust her, because she says the thing that motivates her is, how do I make sure that I have a good future for my kids? Right? If my government was full of people who are motivated by that, as opposed to people who are IPAC funded, I would have a lot of easier time trusting my government than I would with what we have now. And the reason I say that is because you're asking me, okay, well, what about the migrant issue, right? What about the people who are coming in? I believe that if you map out the entire country and you look at not just the Bronx or not just Baltimore, not just Detroit, not just the poor areas, it's everywhere. you'll see that the entire country's collapsing in terms of its infrastructure because nothing's being kept up in like over 50 years. You know, the thing that happened with the bridge, right? The terrible infrastructure that allowed, you know, nobody cares. The country's collapsing. Instead, we have we have an economy that is all speculative, right? They're like, oh, the dollar, oh, but the GDP is doing great. The GDP is doing great. The GDP doesn't measure shit. It doesn't measure anything. What measures is the physical aspects of it. How many people are overdosing in the streets? How many people are uneducated? How many people are unhoused? How many people are sitting in traffic for 2 hours just to go 10 miles, you know, in California, right? Our infrastructure sucks. And when you map out everything the country actually needs, you realize you don't have enough people in the country to actually fix it within a 10-year time frame. You're going to need people to come in and build it. Historically, migrants have always built the country, whether by force in the case of slavery, right? Or whether it was the Chinese in 1899 who built most of our rail, right? It has always been migrants who have built the country, right? So when people say, well, they're taking our jobs, there are no jobs to take, first of all. There are no jobs to take. Secondly, if you actually built national projects to reindustrialize or rebuild America, just to bring it to its modern, like where it should be, not even future standards, where it should be, you're going to need about, honestly, like another 100 to 200 million people coming in. And they're going to have to build new cities. They're going to have to build new highway routes. They're going to have to build high-speed rails. They're going to have to build new forms of public transportation. There's a lot to be built right now, and we don't have even if every American was like ready to put a hard hat on and go to work, you don't have enough people. You need tons more people, and that's where the migrants come in, right? So you can take the migrants who are coming into New York City or anywhere else in the country who are living these terrible lives because it's not lavish. I've been to the hotels where they are. I've been to the streets where they are. It's horrible. They're not living in good conditions. You say, okay, listen, we're going to set up some way for you to get actual housing. We're going to train you and you're going to build. We're going to pay you a decent wage. And in exchange, we're going to give you your citizenship. And you can even live in the new town that you build. That's your community that you're building. You're building something new. You chose to come here. We're going to make it so that you build it, so that it is yours, so that you assimilate. Because then, like, what is that person's identity? Yeah, they're a migrant, but they also built a new city in the United States. Doesn't that make them more American than most Americans today who are just born here by incident? That person built a town in South Dakota or something. So that's what I think about the migrants. You gotta put them to work productively, train them, pay them humane wages so that they can actually be a part of the country.
And you had said something about money in AIPAC earlier, and we all are poor here, I'm pretty sure. You don't know what you're going to do until it's in front of you, right? So
Sure.
How can the people actually trust that you as a poor man, you can turn down a couple of $1 million, say over a 5-10 year span? How can we trust just you and just your word and your balls when we have seen people come and go, and now they have spent a whole 360? How can we trust you? And what do you say to the people who believe that you might turn a whole 360 once you see $1 million come from AIPAC to shut the fuck up?
This is one of the benefits of knowing yourself truly. One of my vices is not money, it's women. I mean, just to be transparent with you, like that's usually what fucks me up. And like now I've been going through this kind of spiritual transformation of like I am truly shedding. Like that's what I'm saying. My personal life is becoming my public life. Now you're asking me, how do I make sure that if somebody offers me $100 million from AIPAC, I'm not going to take it? I always come back to the LaRouche question, because I've been associated with the LaRouche organization since I was about 15 years old. Nobody has been slandered by the ADL and by AIPAC more than the LaRouche organization. But beyond just AIPAC and ADL, Lyndon LaRouche had so many opportunities to sell out. And the reason why he ended up in jail and why his enemies were Henry Kissinger, George H. Bush, Mike Pompeo, Robert Mueller, like some of the names that we, talk about today as like the big bad guys, like in the 80s, those guys were going after him. And the reason why when you bring up his name, he's like, whoa, he's like this weird cult guy, whatever, because they successfully slandered him in the 80s because he did not sell out.
Yeah, and I meant to ask you, that was going to be my follow-up question about this group, because I have been skeptical on you. You did pop up out of nowhere. You gather a lot of attention. I see you here, I see you there. You've been in my town, you've been, out of town. So where is this money coming from for you guys to be able to travel so much? And because this is a question that has came up a couple of times since we have first got this interview together. A couple of people have asked me, where is this money coming from? Because this is one of the things that we will be able to see if you do win, if you are able to win, we will be able to see who was funding you. So if you want to tell us right here, right now.
Well, my first filing will be on April 15th. So April 15th, we have to file with the IRS and the FEC. So you'll be able to see my first quarterly filings. I don't know exactly how much our campaign has made so far. I think somewhere like 25,000 or so. Okay. In terms of like who's funding the LaRouche organization, you'll be surprised that it's just Americans. We don't take any money from organizations or special interest groups. It's just, look, I think it's also all public too. I'm pretty sure it's all public, but I mean, I don't want to give like specific details about like who exactly. All I can say is it really is just ordinary citizens like you, or people, because like they've been around for 50 years, and like Lynn then LaRouche in the 70s and 80s had developed such a vast, extensive network of people who strongly supported him and his ideas. And the organization has been under attack several times. We've put out stuff on this all the time. And when they put Lynn in jail, the idea was to kill the organization in the 90s, and we kept it going. And then when we had there was a group that split recently from us, LaRouche PAC. They just wanted to be all Donald Trump, and that wasn't us. So they split off, and then that was another weak point in the organization where we should have probably like been dissolved, and we didn't. And the thing is, it's just that people around the country just support us. Like, we just fundraise. That's it. Like, it's all and I know people find that hard to believe. Like, what do you mean an honest organization that's making money? Like, we don't make money. First of all the money that probably comes in goes right back to printing material and keeping up with upkeep. That's it. Everyone in my organization is broke and poor, like, that's why I would like it. That's why I'm one of the things I'm happy about with the campaign. I'm being really transparent. I don't know how much of this I can actually be saying or not, but I mean, fuck it. I have no problem being honest, Rome. One of the reasons I'm so happy with this campaign is that, like, when people donate, it allows me to make sure, even if it's just temporarily between now and November, to make sure that my staff can eat, and not have to, some of them live in three or four of them live in like a 1-bedroom apartment. It's like, okay, well, at least, you don't have to go hungry while you're out campaigning for me, and in terms of me personally, the FEC has this rule, which they say is to stop people, becoming millionaires from the campaign. But I guess they didn't think poor people should run, right? So the FEC says you cannot legally pay yourself more than whatever you reported in taxes last year or whatever the congressional salary is, right? So I made $24,000 last year, and that's what I'm going to report on my taxes, right? I can't pay myself a salary of more than that this year. That's about $400 a week or so, between now and November. The poverty line in New York City is $34,000.
Yeah.
So like, that's all I can personally take, right? Like I said, like, I'm gonna be living off like I got no money for a girlfriend, I got no money for an Xbox or a PlayStation, like, it's just straight rent and food. That's all I'm gonna be living off of for the next fucking 6 months, I guess. So, please donate. I really mean it, Rome, when I say, like, I'm giving it my all. Like, I am cutting off all personal. I just don't have the time mentally or the emotional capacity for any kind of personal relationships now. It all is just one thing for me. So,
all right. This wouldn't be a hot seat if I didn't do any background checking. If I didn't, You know,
I'm happy to answer any
yeah,
question.
yeah. You know,
I hide
I
nothing.
did a little background check and I talked to people that was real close to you, people that was friends with you and stuff like that. Just trying to tap back into journalism and whatnot. But I had it was one event that you guys had did that I would like to know about because this is one event that did not make. I don't think it made any. I don't think it came on the internet on any of you guys' pages and whatnot. And it was a meetup with RFK, and this was one of you guys call out things and whatnot. And you didn't call him out. You tried to invite him to some
Yeah,
type of organization meetup. Like what was that all about? Because you have some people that was very close to you who wanted me to ask this. They was
sure.
stunned, heartbroken. I would say the most, at the least. What was that all about? Because
I got no. Yeah, of
you
course.
guys are so vocal against APAC, Israel, and whatnot. What was to be said to RFK at that moment?
That's not difficult to answer. I was under the RFK spell before October 7th. That's all it was. I mean, because I liked what RFK Jr. was saying on Ukraine and Russia. He was talking about, bringing in the principles of his uncle, saying that, we need to realize that we all breathe the same air and that we can find peace and resolution within conflicts. And so at the time, I was like, I disagree with like 60-70% of what RFK stands for, but principally, I think maybe he has a point. And this is what I was trying to tell you about, like, well, does trust in government mean people who say the same things you do, or are they coming from a higher principle? And this August 6th rally, we were having a rally on August 6th. That is on the internet. I mean, I was inviting him to that. And he inevitably did end up sending a statement to it. It was a peace rally on the anniversary of the Hiroshima bombing. And so this was like, I guess, July that I confronted Kennedy by inviting him to a peace conference rather than denouncing him in the way that I did AOC or others. It's just as simple as I thought maybe he really
But
meant
you
what
can
he
fix
said.
them.
Right. And the way you think you can fix a broken woman with enough love is the way I thought you could fix RFK Jr. with
Yeah, no, that's not happening. That man is old and stuck in his ways.
No, and after October 7th, and like after he just like doubled and tripled down, and then he started calling Palestinians babies or pampered babies.
Yeah,
I'm off that train now. Like if there wasn't another event where he was speaking and it wasn't going to be full of IDF soldiers, that were going to fucking tackle me and kill me. I mean, yeah. And like I'm extremely vocal against him now, where at the time I thought, okay, well, maybe he could be fixed, but now, no, forget it. So that's all that was. I just, I'm just admitting I thought he could have been fixed and he couldn't.
yeah.
Because the other thing was he was saying he had just said on Jimmy Dore's show that he was going to sit down with Max Blumenthal. And I was like, okay, I mean, well, maybe then if he's sitting down, but then he
You're right.
didn't. Like, you know?
Look how that went.
Exactly. Like he hasn't sat down with him. And so, I don't know, man. Bobby's been playing those fucking weird games around the Gaza and they say, oh, wait for his Middle East policy, but like his Middle East policy is just wipe out Hamas, which just means wipe out Palestine. So no, that's just it. I just believed and I was wrong.
All right, so since I don't want to keep you too much longer because I have another story to get to, and I got to go pick up my kids and all that stuff. So I got a couple of more questions to ask you. We just took it to APAC and all that right now, so I want to bring it back to your district, and I want you to talk to the people of your town, of your neighborhood, and explain what is your domestic policies because you need to update. This is not a shot at you or anything like that. I believe in you, but you really need to update that damn website, and
Yeah, I
you
know.
really need to put some on it because I was going to use this to dig at you and be like, you have no plans, you have this, you have nothing,
Yeah.
right?
They're
So
up there. It's just the person I hired who initially set it up was like, okay, you have full control. And then now I'm like, I don't know how to. I don't know how to do it. So I mean,
yeah,
if people can donate so I can hire a webmaster, please, like Like, you have to understand, like, a lot of the incompetence in the campaign is not because it's malicious or because it's just I'm figuring this shit out as I go.
You got to be prepared, man, because they got millions of dollars against. They got millions of dollars just to throw around, right? So you got to be prepared for stuff like this. What if this was like a CNN interview and they would have played you on that? They would have really picked you apart on that. So you really need to be prepared and really update. But I just want to get your what would you say? How is your what is your domestic plan? Because this is one of the poorest districts in America that we are talking about here. And
Okay. Well, I spoke a little bit about the idea of the civilian construction corps, but I think just beyond that, it's about making sure I need people to kind of like, if I'm speaking to like my constituents directly, we need to think, what do we want the Bronx to look like 50 years from now? And how is it that the work we're going to do right now will make sure that we get that Bronx 50 years from now? Because I believe the future is what defines the present, not the other way around, right? If your conception is, what do I want something to look like? Like when you built that library, you're thinking why there's a lot going on into why you're building a library, but you're building it for the future. And then when it's actually there, that's your present, you know? And I'm taking that on a grander scale. I'm saying that nobody should be poor. Nobody's fucking ceiling should be, caving in. I don't think that, I think everybody should have the right to a proper education, and everyone should have the right to an opportunity that they want to take and to be able to contribute something great to their neighborhood and their community and to the world as a whole, and to be able to understand what it means to be a human being. And what that requires is 3 meals a day and a roof over your head. Help me help you build that. And one of the ways to do that is to make sure that we can reorient the generation that we're losing, our young generation, who's getting caught up in the trap, who's getting caught up in selling drugs, who's getting caught up in all the wrong things they should not be doing as a way to make a living. Because at the end of the day, people need to make a living, right? So I don't fault people for trying to go under the system, because otherwise, what's the other option? It's just like gig service jobs, this stuff that robs your dignity. So I'm saying we can bring back productive jobs that actually allow you to rebuild your community, and you be a part of that. You be the person instrumental in rebuilding your community. That's my domestic policy. I mean, there are things like healthcare. I don't mention that stuff because I just think that stuff's just so obvious that healthcare, anybody should be able to walk into a hospital and not worry about a bill. Like, that to me is just so self-evident and obvious that I feel like putting it up as part of my policy. And I do have pages for my policies. They're not on the front page because I don't know how to add them to the front page. But now that I quit my job, because that's the other thing where I'm like, I was working part-time. I was working 25, 30 hours a week on top of campaigning at a coffee shop, and I just quit. So now I can like fully focus on my campaign. Man, I'm so transparent and honest with you, more than I've been with like any other show. But anyway, like, the stuff like that is just so obvious to me. An education, like, this stuff is just so self-evident to me. But to be completely quite honest with you, Rome, if I win, I'm one congressman out of 435. What the fuck can I really do? Can I get, maybe if I play the game a little bit, they'll let me pass my policy and bills. Fuck that. I don't believe in that. That's what they did to AOC. That's why AOC is still crying about the Green New Deal. They're not going to give that to her. That's like a thing they wag at her. It's like, keep playing the game, AOC. We'll give you what you want. Most of my time in the office will be spent helping other independent candidates run and win and actually take back your government, okay? It'll be helping people who have initiatives around the country that don't involve the office, okay? It'll be helping people who are actually trying to build something in their neighborhoods and their communities that are centered around education and bettering people's lives. Like, that's what I will do, because I'm not going to waste my fucking time in Washington knowing I'm not going to be able to get anything passed. I'm going to tell the truth. I'm going to call these people out. And then hopefully that if I win, and then 2 years later, we can get like 110 other Congress people in the office, then we're fucking talking now. Then we really are taking back the government. So that's my promise to my constituency. I cannot promise you that I can get these things done because I'll only be one. It's not like I'm trying to be president, which would be different. I can promise you I'll tell the truth and I will fight for a government you deserve, not one that you have now. So that's what I got.
All right. Well, a couple of people wanted me to ask, what is your ideology, right? Because I see a great handful of people. I'm not going to say that you have a right wing audience because that would be a lie. I see a lot of socialists, a lot of communists follow you, but we don't hear too much on you on ideology, on isms or whatnot. So, where do you stand on these isms, ideologies? Because these things are really the talk of the town, the talk of the internet nowadays. Everybody has their clicks and whatnot, and a lot of people would like to know, where do you stand on communism, where do you stand on socialism, and if you are one of those, like, will you be able to? Would you be that when you go in and coming out the office?
So I would say that at least on Twitter, I do have a right wing following, because when I did the interventions on AOC and on the Nord Stream, like, it's not just the left that's pissed off at these things. Like, there's people on the right too that hate the New York Times, right? So, and that's why when the whole Israel and Gaza October 7th started, I lost a lot of followers who were right wing because they were staunch Israel supporters. It's like, fine, I don't care. I stand for truth. I don't give a shit. Whoever wants to follow me follows me. On the isms question, I don't do isms. I try not to do isms. I try not to do ideologies, because I think that's where you lose people who, I think people nowadays can't have a nuanced discussion. When you say I'm a socialist, oh, okay, all right, bye. Or like they think they know everything about you already, and they make assumptions about you, no matter what you say. Personally, I mean, yeah, I'm a leftist. I believe that you need more government. In terms of like my economic policy, I would say I'm more aligned with Alexander Hamilton than anything. I got no problem with people who say they're socialist or communist. Maybe in some ways I align more with you. I myself am not a socialist or a communist, but honestly, I align myself with whoever has the interest of people at their heart. I care more about people who actually love people. Like, that's my ideology. It's just love, right? And how does that actually manifest and express itself, right? So, I'm I don't know. I just think common sense. I just believe in policies of that will benefit humanity, and whatever ideology that is, well, then that's whatever you want to ascribe to me, then make that so. But I try not to get caught up in the weeds of it, because I want to force people to think about what I'm saying, rather than saying, "Oh, well, Jose's a socialist," and then they write off and then they go. I want people to hear me, and I want people to be confused so that they actually listen to what I'm trying to say, as opposed to trying to, just write me off one way or another. Because this is what AOC did. AOC said, "Oh, LaRouche, yep, nope. See, he didn't mean anything what he was saying. See, you don't have to listen to what he was saying because he's associated with the LaRouche organization, or he's a right winger. Like this. These are the tactics that they use to try and like silence people. Like, this is what what's the guy's name? Secular Talk. Kyle Kalinske did to defend AOC after I attacked her. He's like, "Oh, he's a right winger. He's not. He didn't believe in her. He's lying." It's like, "Oh, fuck you. You don't know me." Like, so anyway, yeah.
I got two more questions and I'm out of here, man. Just two more. Well, really,
I did
one
not.
more, and I take a statement from you about your opponent. What would you like to say to your opponent? But before that, I would like to ask you, since you are running for Congress, and we see so.
Oh, did I lose you, or did you lose me? There we go. Yeah,
There you go. Okay, well, a lot of people say, Israel has a right to defend themselves. Israel has a right to exist. Do you feel like Israel has a right to exist? And do you condemn, the resistance movements that's taking place against not only Israel but the U.S. and the West as a whole?
Um, does Israel have a right to exist is not a question for me. My personal opinion, right? Because so there's Jose the congressman, right? Because if I'm going to be dictating U.S. policy, is it my position as a congressman to say what country has a right to exist or not? That's a nuanced question, because the United States was directly responsible for the creation of Israel. If you had asked me in 1948, should Israel exist, I would have flatly said, no, don't do it. This is a horrible idea. But now there is an Israel, and the world during the UN resolution of 1969 or 1967 has said that this is the two-state partition. But everything has changed after October 7th now, because Israel has to be held accountable for this horrible onslaught and slaughter. And I think there is ground and basis for there to not be in Israel anymore. But I'm coming from more of like, I don't think it's my position to say whether or not. I believe there should be a sovereign Palestinian state because people want there to be a one state, which is fine with me. I've got no problem with a one state solution. In fact, like I want to shout out Gaijin Girl right now here she's on Twitter. She's great. She actually sent me her policy proposal for there to be a one state solution that is not rooted in theocracy. I'm for that. But the question is like, what is there left of Palestine right now? It's just rubble. It's been destroyed. That's Gaza, and then the West Bank is an open air prison, right? So you can't have Palestine be at the negotiating table. It's got nothing to offer. What it's going to require is a rebuilding of Palestine, and it's going to be it has to be an international effort. It just has to be. You have to like have an emergency rebuilding of Palestine within 2 to 4 years so that it looks like New York City or something. Like that's the kind of thinking you have to have when it comes to Palestine is to and so the Israel question, like I'm gonna let the world decide that one. Personally, I think we just need to rebuild Palestine. And Israel right now, that question is up in the air because they're just acting like a rogue state. So as to whether or not I denounce the resistance, well, I don't even know if we actually know what happened on October 7th. I know there's like a romanticization of it, that it was freedom fighters, that it was people who were fed up with Israel's occupation. And to some degree, I would agree with that because there are teenagers who've only ever lived in these walls of Palestine and decided to have resistance. But there's a lot of fishiness about it because Israel knew the attack was happening. Egypt tried to warn Israel weeks before it happened. There was a lot of intelligence going on, and Israel is known as like the super spy of the world. Like they surveil the entire world. You're telling me they didn't know this was coming, and then it took them 7 hours to respond, and then we find out that Israel is probably responsible for a lot more deaths that happened on October 7th than Hamas did, because Hamas was just trying to kidnap people, and then Israel was indiscriminately shooting missiles and guns into this festival. Do we really know what happened on October 7th? I don't necessarily think we do.
Hold on, give me 1 second, Jose. I think you're breaking up. You're breaking up bad. Hold on. People saying you're breaking up. Okay. All right. So let's get the last couple of sentences over. I couldn't hear you correctly.
I was just saying that Israel indiscriminately was killing their own people on October 7th with their helicopters, when Hamas's stated objective was just to capture, kidnap. They just wanted to kidnap people and not kill them. So there's still a lot of questions as to what exactly happened on October 7th. That to what extent is this like a 9/11 where the United States allowed 9/11 to happen and then later cried and played the victim about it so they could institute the Patriot Act? I just, I don't know what happened on October 7th. As to right now, no, those motherfuckers are trying to survive. Okay. Like what they're doing right now is pure survival mode. And I will never denounce what people are doing in Palestine and Gaza right now, for their survival. I mean, there are IDF soldiers hiding in plain clothes and going into the hospitals and then shooting people. It's horrible. People have to survive, so I'm not going to denounce anybody who's just trying to survive. And, I'm coming at it from a different angle, which is like, we just need to stop the killing and rebuild Palestine, Gaza, and that entire region so that there is no need for another war, no more need for bloodshed, let Palestine actually be sovereign. Let Palestine and Gaza actually, rebuild and allow their own autonomous control. That's simple, and then have the world help rebuild it.
Okay, I got one more thing for you. A statement, what you want to say, because I know Richie is going to run until you get enough funds to actually get on at the debate stage. Today, You know, if he was on the show, what would you say to him? If this was a debate stage, what would you say to him in front of your people? You know, besides, I'm not you, I'm not taking this money. You know, what would you say to your people in front of Richie?
You were a city councilman, you were a congressman, and the Bronx is still a mess to this day. You're an airhead, you don't know anything, and I've exposed the fact that you don't actually know anything when I confronted you. You're illegitimate, and you're just an empty suit. I mean, there's nothing that actually qualifies you to be in this position of power, just like most of the people in power, nothing qualifies them. You're a joke. You don't actually represent the Bronx. I actually have a plan to rebuild the Bronx. You want the Bronx to stay poor. You want the Bronx to be this way. That's why you care more about Israel than you do about the Bronx. So that's all I can say right now with no prep and just assuming he was in front of me. Oh, is it just me on the stream now? Oh, there we go. Okay. I was like, damn. You're muted. You're muted, Rome.
I'm sorry, y'all. This was a great show. Thank you for stepping out, man, because I know you be busy as hell. You be everywhere, man. You be everywhere. You know, you got some huge balls on you for doing this and whatnot. A lot of people might think that you are better here or there, but that's all up to you. At the end of the day, you know, a lot of people might want you to stay as an activist. I can see that even with the you know, even with some of your followers and whatnot, a lot of people don't want you to go into Congress or office, but that's all up to you at the end of the day. And it's all up to if the people will accept you at the end of the day. So you do what you do. This is thank you for coming out. Thank you for coming out. And
anytime, Rome. I mean it. Anytime. Like I have no difference between my personal and public life now. So you can ask me anything, dog. I will answer. Even if people don't like the answer, I'll answer it.
All right. Well, yeah, because that's just what's gonna happen. You know, you can't, you know what they always say, nobody's gonna be perfect, and there is no such thing as a perfect candidate. No, there's no such thing as a perfect activist. You know, some of us can't come from fucked up backgrounds or still have prejudice or, you know, phobias of our own. So that we have to work through. So you're not gonna get the most perfect motherfucker, of course. But if you feel like, you know, Jose is your person, please go and donate to him. I will show you guys. Hold on 1 second.
VoteVega.nyc. Which, now that I'm not working, we can actually have a website up, like an updated website, hopefully by next week.
Y'all can come here, donate, volunteer, and break down who he is. You know, break down everything about him. If you feel like this is your candidate, somebody that can, you know, get shit done, and he's speaking your language, then go to his website, donate, follow him on Twitter, follow him on his websites, and let's try to build some mutual power, you know, because we're definitely gonna need more people out here with these political mindsets to take these positions of power. I'm gonna be putting you in the background, and thank you for coming out, man.
Thank you, brother. Anytime.